Hey there, it's Carrie at StudioR12 Stencils, and today we're doing a little DIY Christmas. We're going to show you how you can use your stencils to make DIY gift wrap for the holidays. Whether you are using bags or boxes this holiday season, you can use stencils that you may already have around your house to help decorate them, make them personalized, and make it really pretty under your tree. Let me show you a couple different ways you can use your stencils. So you can use your stencils to decorate all of the wrapping paper. This was done with an embellishment stencil. Don't worry, we're gonna show you how we did it. And this one we did with a personalized, we did a nice little K and then add some checkers inside of it. So when you are planning on doing your gift wrap, there are a couple things that you are going to want to think about. If you're going to use a pattern stencil and do something all over the box, then you're probably going to want to stencil it before you wrap. However, if you want something placed somewhere special, you're going to want to do it after you wrap. So let's get started on some painting. By the way, can we take a nod at how cute this little bag is? This is our by far favorite of all of the samples that we made. The little ugly sweater pattern fits perfectly on this little bag. I think I might have to take this home for myself. Of course, as we get started to do some stenciling today, we are going to do one of our favorite holiday stencils, and that is the buffalo plaid. The buffalo plaid can be used for any season, but during the holidays, there's just something about it. We tend to use it on so many holiday projects. This stencil is just about the same size as the box, so you can line it up directly with your box if it works that way. Or if it's a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger, you can move the stencil around as you're painting. So I'm just going to line it up with the box and we'll just paint it right here in the middle. This design, we are going to do multiple stencils. We're going to paint the buffalo check in the back, and then we're going to paint a really cool deer head over top of it. So you can see how to use multi-layers of your stencils on your projects. All right, so let's grab our necessities here. We're going to use a dome stencil brush. Dome brushes are our favorite because the shape of the brush is actually a dome. So when you are stenciling on your project, only a little bit of the bristles actually gets on your project. When you use a flat brush, it's a little bit easier to bleed under because so much of the brush is actually hitting your project. We are going to start with our black. We just use honey bottles. We go through so much paint that we get paint in bulk and then put it in these little bottles because it's so much easier to pour from. We have an Amazon link. You can see all of the links for the products that we are using today from the StudioR12 website or from our Amazon affiliates. If you hit the show more button in the description, it will show you all of the things we're using today. So some quick stencil basics. This is going to be just like if you are painting on a wood surface or on fabric. There are some basics you're going to want to follow. We'll put our brush in our paint, get a little bit of paint, and then come to our paper towel. We are going to swirl off. We always offload our brush about 15 times. Now, when you are working on your wrapping paper, you can either stencil or swirl. That is going to be personal preference. I like to stipple, especially when we are doing buffalo plaid, because it covers a lot more area quicker. But when you are stippling, just like with your regular projects, you have to be sure that you're not getting too much paint on your brush. When you are working on a wood surface, you have a lot more wiggle room when it comes to mistakes. When you're working on paper, you really don't have wiggle room for mistakes unless you want to use a bow to cover it up, and I'll show you how I did that in a little bit. So we're just going to go through and stipple through our buffalo plaid. gonna do a portion of this so you can see how it looks with your paper and with your paint. If you get a lot of paint on your paper, you will notice that it kind of starts to wiggle and buckle up, and that's okay. It will dry. You just might have to give yourself some time before you're actually giving these gifts. Now, one thing you will want to be mindful of when you are stenciling with a stencil that is larger than your box or your surface, it kind of comes over the edge here. It's just a little bit bigger than my box. So if we're not careful, if we hit it just right, it kind of pulls the stencil up away from the box, which can lead to bleeding under. So you'll want to hold down your stencil as you get close to the edge, just to make sure that there's not any wiggle room. Okay, now that we have that done, I have gotten my arm workout in. I'm gonna go grab an apron so that I don't make too much of a mess on my sweater. All right, so are you ready to see what this buffalo check looks like on this box? I am so excited to show you. It looks like in most places it is already dry, but just like with your regular projects, you might wanna hit it with the blow dryer just to be sure before you move on. Now, let's talk about your tape. When you are taping down on your projects, you are going to want to be really careful that you don't push your tape down too hard because it's paper, it is gonna rip. So on this one, I put my stretchy tape just a little bit too hard on it and it pulled up just a little bit. Luckily it's down on the edge, but something to be careful about as you are working on these projects. All right, look how super cute that buffalo plaid is on our project, right? It's adorable. So we have our buffalo check background. Now let me show you what I did when I wasn't careful on one of the other projects. So look how beautiful my K was here. With this one, we used, let's see if I can find these stencils. We used our monogram K, and then we used our teeny tiny little checkered stencil over top of it. However, I had a momentary brain lapse and I painted the K with the red and it was so beautiful. And then I took the K off and started stenciling with the checkers. So we all have those moments, you are not alone. And what happened was, I got a little boo-boo over here. You can see where I started checkering and I said, oh my goodness, I forgot to put my stencil back on. So I put my stencil back on, and then what we did was we used our K and then we used our check stencil and we just put it in a place to get it started. And then we moved it along and just continued the check pattern all over it. So it turned out so beautiful. I sent some of these to my family yesterday to show them what I was doing at work, and they loved this personalized K. All right, so now we have our buffalo plaid, and then we got this cute little deer. The deer is so popular at Christmas season. We are going to come back here and we are going to put our deer, let's see, on your surface. So the cool thing about this deer is that you can make it either way that you want. If you prefer it to look one way rather than the other, you can choose which way you want. With the StudioR12 stencils, at the very bottom of the stencil, we have a teeny tiny etching that can show you which way your stencil goes. You'll be able to feel the ridges. This is really important for pattern stencil. So if you're doing a pattern stencil and you are moving it from side to side and you're gonna have to move it over your board, you're gonna wanna make sure that it's in the same direction the entire time. All right, so let's get our deer on here, and then we will get started with it. So the deer is very open, it's very wide. So with the deer, we'll just do one layer just to show you how it'll look, just to give you a different design option. But you would probably want to use the deer and do it a couple of times so it'll be nice and bold. I got this idea from a magazine that we were looking at, and there were several different buffalo check and deer designs. You will want to stipple if you are painting a white over top of a black especially, or a darker color. The stipple is going to cover more area. It's going to give you a little bit more paint, and it will be quicker coverage for you. So you may have noticed that as I get into the center of this deer, I'm not wiping my paint off quite as much. When you are in the middle, there's not really any room to bleed. You do want it to be even when you're looking at it, so you don't want it to be really, really dusty in one area and then really, really bold in another. But you do have a little bit more leeway when it comes to how much paint you can use toward the center of the project when you don't have to worry about bleeding under. All right, are you guys ready for the big reveal? I cannot wait to see what this looks like. My husband is a big deer hunter, so I always have to do a little bit of deer paper for him. At least one present gets wrapped in deer. So this will be something that I would totally do for him. And voila, look how cool that turned out. You can do this with any color, with any stencil design. You could do it with a really beautiful tree. You could do it with anything, the Christmas bells, or the Christmas ornaments. I'm gonna show you that here in a second. Something that is going to be really big and bold in the middle of your package. That looks super cool. All right, so let me take a second here and I'm gonna show you some of the other projects that we did. All right, take a look at this cute little Christmas tree. So I just used a repeating Christmas pattern, which we're gonna use this one here again in a second. This one we used on 2. So this is something that's also really cool. One of the things we love most about the stencils is the versatility. Look how many projects we did with just a few stencils. You can change the colors, you can change what you put together. So I used these Christmas trees on this and I just repeated it over and over and over again. And then I went in, have a little trick for you, with the bottom of my brush. And then I put it in my red paint. You'll want to do this when your red paint or whatever paint it is still really fresh and really wet. You'll dab it in your paint and then you'll come to your project and then you'll just make dots and they look like little Christmas ornaments. Now, there is one thing on this that I do want to finish for you. Let's see here. We were trying to decide how we were going to finish off our tree topper. We talked about using stickers. You might have a little one, or if you're a teacher, you know those gold star stickers. That would be super cute on here, and let your little one help you so that you can add a little star to the top, or we actually have star stencils. So I'm going to do, look how cute this little star stencil is. I'm going to add a little star to the top here. Grab some yellow paint. Now this is just really itty bitty teeny tiny. We're going to want to use a very small brush here. This is one of our very small dome brushes. They come in several different sizes. We're just gonna put out a little dab because we are not going to need very much at all. And then we're going to come to the very edge of the stencil. You can choose whatever star you want. but you do have to worry about potential of ghosting and bleeding through. So I'm going to come to this one here on the very edge that really isn't around many of the other stars. Since we are using a very small brush, then our chances for ghosting and bleeding under are less. So we're going to get our yellow on our tiny brush and we're going to offload it just by making a couple different pats. And then we are going to stipple away. And these are so teeny tiny, they don't take much time at all, but you will want to let it dry. You can hit it with the blow dryer. And then since the yellow is lighter than the green, you will have to go over it a couple of times once it dries. If you don't let it dry, you're just going to smear the paint. But let me show you, see, and then I smeared it. Let's see here. Okay, we wiped that off. We had too much paint. You really couldn't see the yellow. Let's try this again. There we go. That one's a little better, but as you can see, you will have to do multiple layers of that because it is over the green and over the brown. So when you're doing teeny tiny things on your gift wrap, you have to make sure you offload, otherwise it is going to be a big blob like we saw with that star. And then you will have to do maybe a few layers of it, even if you are stippling, just so that you can get it to show up. All right, we're gonna put this in the water bucket and move on to our next one. So this is a stencil that I think is super underrated here at StudioR12. We were just talking about, we do not do enough with this stencil. And why I wanted to use this one was to show you a different way that you can create a wrapping paper, or even if you would do Christmas cards or even on a sign. We did one of these where we did the balls and then we did words over it and we put it on around and put a bow on. It was just really pretty. It just really came together. So you can do, I'm not going to paint this one. I'm just going to show you how it would lay out. We have our box wrapped already. And then we're going to place our ornaments across the top, and you can do them in red, green, yellow, blue, and then repeat it, or you can just do them in red and green. You could do them in a really dusty white or even a black, and then find a word like Merry Christmas or a season's greeting. I saw a super cute floor mat that had the ornaments across the top and then said season's greetings underneath. It was so cute. And then you can paint those and then come back on here and paint your Merry Christmas wherever you wish, and then you have your ornaments, you have your Merry Christmas, and it just has a really amazing special touch. You could also use on this stencil the Christmas bulbs. How fun would that be if you did those Christmas lights in different colors, make them look like the lights that are on your tree, and you could even do that one as an all over project, or even just a couple across the top, put a little Christmas tree. The options for painting wrapping paper are absolutely endless. So let me show you, I have a whole bunch of stencils that I want to show you that give us some different ideas of what we can paint. And then I'm going to show you how to paint a repeating pattern on your wrapping paper so that you can wrap it just like we did with this guy. And I have a little finishing idea for you as well. So stay tuned. We still have a lot to come. So this is our snowflake stencil. So this is how we did this package. And what we did with it was we laid our snowflake out on the paper, and I just moved, I set it here, I stippled along, I flipped it around and moved it, and I just kept flipping it, so there wasn't really any rhyme or reason. It wasn't exactly repeating because I just kept moving it around, and then we just stippled all the way along, and it turned out so pretty. This was also another one of the favorites here in the studio. We have a super fun stencil with the snowflakes, so you can do these. We did Christmas cards. Oh, you guys have to check out our Christmas card video. We will pop that up with the link for you guys so you can check it out. We use the stencil, we use trees, and we use the snowflakes on it to make super cute DIY Christmas cards as well. So you have your ornaments, you have your candy cane stripe, your trees, your snowflakes. We have snowflakes in really pretty deer. We have angels. The angels are very pretty and they come with little stars as well. And then we have some Christmas presents. So how about you paint presents on your presents, right? Now, as we're talking about these, do you put presents under your tree that are fake? I know a lot of people who do that, who will wrap up boxes in paper that matches their tree, and it'll just be fake presents to make it look really pretty all season long. So what if you had a tree and then you wrapped fake boxes just like I did here, and then you painted them to match the decor of your tree, and then you can just use them year after year over and over as long as you are storing them nicely and taking care of them. How cool would that be to get such use out of your stencils? All right, so as we talk about favorites, I told you this was my favorite. We just used this one stencil, placed it on the bag. When you're stenciling bags, we just put the bag down, we lay the stencil on top of it, and then I taped the stencil down to our silicone mat so that it would not move. And then I held it down as I went, and I just stippled all along. I just did one layer here, and it turned out so cute. This was our favorite by far. It fit perfectly on there, and it's just super adorable. But this is such a cute stencil. It would also look cute if you did it repeating. This one you can repeat. You can see that this edge here and this edge here come together to make the little plus sign shape. So you can repeat this one and do it all over a package. And then we have some super cute Naughty Nice. I tried, how cute would this be on one of the little kids' presents with the little choo-choo train? Or you could just make a choo-choo train if you have a little one who loves trains. Just put trains all across the bottom of their packages, and then they'll know which one are theirs. So I do different paper for each person in our house so that I know who gets what. So if you are painting for your spouse, you can do all of them in your snowflakes. You're painting for your mom, maybe your mom loves just the really like magic of Christmas. This one with the joy and the peace and the Merry Christmas would be really pretty painted on a paper. You can paint all the same ones. So then everybody gets the same paper, and then you know where the presents are going to, and then you don't even have to put tags on them. All right, so we have, oh, that got in some paint. We have some fun Christmas trees. We have holly and berries. We have this Christmas tree, and this is how I painted this bag. We just stuck it right on here and then painted over it. Now we did have to use our tape and our MultiMasker on this one because I wanted to paint the portion of it green and then the portion of it brown. So with the StudioR12 MultiMasker, this will help you from taping off. It has so many different shapes. It has a straight line, it has a little ruler on it, and you can lay this down right over your stencil. So I'm gonna cover up the trunk of this tree, and then you would just stipple right along there and then move it along here as you're ready to stipple. And then when you're ready to work on the trunk, you would put your MultiMasker here on the little portion of the tree, just whatever size fits it. There we go. And then stipple away, and then you would get your excess on your MultiMasker rather than bleeding through on your stencil. All right. So we have, those are just a few that I found. We have over 6,000 stencils here at StudioR12, so we'd be interested to see what you guys would choose to paint your Christmas bags with. So let me grab the Christmas trees here, and I'm just going to show you quickly how to repeat these. I would, if I was doing this one as a painting, I would grab my brush, I would start here, and then I would just stipple all the way across, all the way down. Since there is some extra room down here, once I got done with this main layer, I would just move this down, let some of my trees come off the edge, and then move it over and do the same thing. And then move it over and do the same thing. So then you have your whole paper. It does not take a long time because like with these, we wanted these to be really dusty and light. There were a couple spots that I got too much paint and it kind of got a ridge on it. And I realized that I was doing a little bit too much and I wanted it just to be really dusty. So you can just do repeating patterns and all kinds of fun stuff. Now, how do you add tags to your presents? Well, you can do bows. We just went and grabbed some Christmas bows and put them on here, and then you can just do the little sticker tags. Or what if you made your own? We have tags here at StudioR12. These are just really thin 1/8 inch MDF, and they're in little tag shape. And so on this side, we just put some of our decoupage papers on one side so that you could see what it looks like with these. But you could paint this, and then we have all of these different size letters that you could paint people's names on their tags. Or how fun would it be if you have someone who has a number of gifts that you want to do in a specific order? So say you need to make sure that you open 1, 2, and 3 before you open 4. You could paint your numbers on your tags, and then they will know which order to open their presents. So just a bunch of fun different ways. Guys, these options are absolutely endless. We also have, just painted this paper box. So if you're doing a project if you're putting something in a box that has a lid, we just wrapped this box and then taped everything onto the inside, and we just taped ribbon around it and put a bow on it. But look how simple that Merry Christmas is. And I really loved it without anything on it, but I wanted to show you what it would look like. Doing just with the Merry Christmas is totally my style, but adding some of this other fun ribbon to it just adds a little bit extra so that you can make personalized, DIY, super fun Christmas wrap to really set off the holidays in your home. If you like this tutorial and you want to give yourself the gift of stenciling this holiday season or even all year round, make sure to subscribe to StudioR12 Stencils and hit the bell so that you can be notified anytime we add new tips, tricks, and tutorials.